For months, Democratic attorneys general have been doing heroic work on behalf of the American people, filing lawsuits to stop Donald Trump's policies in their tracks. And on Thursday, they did it again. A group of 20 attorneys general sued to block a regulation at the Health and Human Services Department that would kick nearly 2 million Americans off their health insurance from taking effect. But Democrats aren't just playing defense. We're going on offense to protect the healthcare of Americans and prevent Republicans from cutting these vital programs, especially as Trump and his Republican rubber stamps pass legislation that strips healthcare and food assistance away from millions of Americans. I'm Hannah Muldaven, Deputy Communications Director for the Democrats, and your host for today. It's Tuesday, July 22nd, and this is the Democrats' Daily Blueprint. The federal lawsuit filed by Democratic attorneys general is just one aspect of our full court press to protect access to healthcare. After all, Democrats are the party of quality, affordable healthcare. In 2010, we passed the Affordable Care Act, President Obama's signature legislation that has helped more than 45 million Americans get covered, often for the first time in their lives. But in the 15 years since, Republicans in Congress have been chipping away at its subsidies and essential provisions, even if it means costs going up and fewer people getting covered. And next year, the cost of getting insurance under Obamacare is expected to soar as tax credits for the middle class expire because of Trump's budget bill, and insurers raise their premiums as a result. Now, let's be clear, Republicans could have stopped this from happening. They could have helped more Americans get health care, but they didn't. They decided to let the tax credits expire and make healthcare less affordable. But trying to take away healthcare isn't new for Republicans. Remember in 2017, when Republicans tried to get away with repealing and replacing the Affordable Care Act? Gosh, that phrase, they just ran on it all the time. Here's a reminder of the iconic moment when it failed.
Senate Republicans trying to repeal and replace Obamacare, and that vote coming up short when the maverick made his mark. Senator John McCain, just days removed from his cancer diagnosis, stunning the chamber, turning the thumbs down on the repeal bill. It happened just feet away from Republican leader Mitch McConnell, prompting an audible gasp in the chamber.
To the courageous action of Senator McCain, Republicans' efforts failed. It allowed millions of Americans to keep their coverage and afford health care. But this time around, Republicans are slashing away at Affordable Care Act in what Taylor Swift would call death by 1,000 cuts. In their latest budget bill, Republicans could have shored up tax credits that have helped working families afford health insurance, but they didn't. Instead, they slashed Medicaid and gave a massive tax giveaway to billionaires. And starting next year, Americans are going to be paying the price, losing their coverage because Republicans failed to act. Let's listen to this analysis.
KFF, a health policy research group, says the loss of some tax credits will drive up out-of-pocket payments by over 75%. The Congressional Budget Office projects at least 4 million people will lose their coverage.
On some level, is this sort of the equivalent of an Affordable Care Act repeal light?
Yes, absolutely. By one estimate, enrollment will be cut in half.
And what does that leave you thinking?
People, unfortunately, are not aware of what's coming down the pike. They're going to enroll in coverage and open enrollment this year as they would any fall, but they may not know until late in the year what their actual consequence will be for their premiums and their out-of-pocket costs.
Of course, Democrats aren't letting this go without a fight. Leaders like Senator Patty Murray have been out in front of this looming crisis.
Under this bill, Washington State is expected to lose between $31 and $51 billion in federal Medicaid funding over the next 10 years. Hospitals in Washington State alone could lose $662 million in Medicaid revenue every year, according to a recent analysis, forcing hospitals to lay off staff, cut their services, or even close their doors entirely. That means that people will have to travel further for care and wait even longer to get it. In fact, over 330 rural hospitals are expected to be forced to close their doors or scale back services because of the cuts in Republicans' bill, including 14 hospitals in Washington State.
Because it's not just that Republicans failed to protect the Affordable Care Act. They also rammed through the largest Medicaid cuts in history, putting rural hospitals across the country at risk of closing. That means longer wait times for people who are sick and ultimately overwhelmed emergency rooms as hospital closings force Americans to travel farther and farther for fewer and fewer hospitals. But it's not just Democrats in Congress who are fighting back. Governors like Katie Hobbs in Arizona have recently made news by erasing the medical debt of over 350,000 Americans.
We're so proud to announce that $429 million in medical debt is so far being canceled, and Arizonans who are benefiting from this should start to see letters in the mail today. It's going to impact this first round is over 350,000 Arizonans.
Imagine what this means to someone who's been buried under debt for years and years just because they got sick. It means getting their life back. It means being able to afford a home, start a business, start a family. In the richest nation in the world, no one should have to declare bankruptcy just because they get sick. And it's why Democratic candidates are putting healthcare front and center of their platforms in their races in 2025. In Virginia, Abigail Spanberger has a comprehensive plan to bring down the cost of healthcare for residents in the Commonwealth. And in New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill has also laid out her vision to make housing, energy, and yes, healthcare more affordable. For far too long, the status quo of healthcare in America hasn't been working. The Affordable Care Act was a transformative piece of legislation for millions of working and middle-class families, but it's not enough. As Republicans seek to gut healthcare for working Americans, for Americans with disabilities, and for children, Democrats are stepping up and fighting back. If you live near a rural hospital in Missouri, Indiana, Oklahoma, or Montana, there's a good chance you'll see our new billboards. Republicans assured their constituents that they would support rural hospitals, but they lied. Now, because of their budget bill, more than 300 rural hospitals are at risk of closing, and Democrats won't let Republicans try to spin this cruel bill any other way. They own this. And the last piece of the puzzle here involves you at home. Standing up for healthcare is not just on Democrats in Congress or in governors' offices or on the campaign trail, or even here at the DNC. It's on Democrats everywhere. That's why later this month and throughout August, we will be mobilizing Democrats nationwide through a new initiative called Organizing Summer. We'll be in communities all across the country to train people on how to host events, recruit volunteers, and build public support for Democrats who advocate for healthcare. Go to democrats.org/takeaction to learn more. Thank you for joining us today for this episode of the Daily Blueprint. We'll be here right with you every day during the week at 10 a.m. Eastern on the DNC's YouTube page. Until tomorrow.